Most men are told the same story. Find someone. Settle down. Build a life together. And somehow, without anyone explaining how, your life will become more stable, more meaningful, more complete. But look carefully at reality. Why do so many men become physically weaker, mentally softer, emotionally dependent, and spiritually exhausted the longer they stay in relationships they never consciously chose? Why do some men look 10 years older at 40, while others look sharper, calmer, more alive? The uncomfortable truth is this: a relationship does not automatically mature a man. Pressure matures a man. Responsibility matures a man. Solitude matures a man. Purpose matures a man. And sometimes, relationships remove all four. This is the part nobody wants to say out loud. Many men are not aging. They are decaying slowly inside comfort. Because comfort can become a beautiful prison. You see it everywhere. A man enters a relationship with discipline, ambition, standards, edge. He trains hard. Learns aggressively. Builds relentlessly. Then something subtle happens. The hunt ends. The tension disappears. The self-negotiation begins. I'll skip today. I deserve to relax. It's not that serious anymore. And year after year, the man who once had momentum becomes emotionally domesticated by routine. Not because relationships are bad. But because unconscious relationships sedate growth. A single man does not automatically age better because he is alone. He ages better when solitude forces him to remain awake. That is the distinction most people miss. Solitude is not the absence of love. It is the absence of distraction. Many men have spent their entire lives using relationships to escape themselves. Escape the silence. Escape uncertainty. Escape inadequacy. Escape the terrifying responsibility of becoming someone formidable. Because when you are alone, there is nowhere to hide. Your habits become visible. Your weaknesses become loud. Your excuses echo. A relationship can sometimes protect a man from confronting his unfinished self. Solitude exposes it like harsh daylight. This is why some single men become extraordinarily refined over time. Not bitter. Not isolated. Refined. Like steel under controlled heat. They learn how to regulate themselves emotionally because nobody is constantly reassuring them. They maintain standards because nobody is monitoring them. They build structure because chaos punishes them immediately. A man alone either collapses, or evolves. And evolution leaves marks. Most people underestimate how deeply lifestyle shapes aging. Stress matters. But meaningful stress and meaningless stress are completely different forces. Meaningful stress sharpens you. Meaningless stress corrodes you. A man pursuing mastery carries a different nervous system than a man trapped in emotional instability, passive conflict, financial pressure, and silent resentment. One stress creates resilience. The other creates erosion. And many relationships quietly become environments of erosion. Not explosive toxicity. Something worse. Slow mediocrity. The kind that lowers a man's standards one compromise at a time. You stop training because life feels busy. You stop thinking deeply because stimulation replaces reflection. You stop taking risks because comfort becomes addictive. You stop building yourself because someone already accepts the unfinished version of you. That acceptance feels warm in the beginning. Then it becomes dangerous. Because human beings adapt quickly to certainty. The mind stops reaching when survival feels guaranteed. This is why many men secretly decline after getting everything they wanted. No challenge. No edge. No internal demand. A sword left untouched begins to rust. And rust is silent. The self-aware man understands something most people never realize: your environment is either calling you upward, or sedating you downward. There is no neutral. Every conversation shapes you. You do not see peace. You see fatigue pretending to be maturity. Some men hear this and conclude relationships themselves are the problem. No. Weakness inside relationships is the problem. Dependency is the problem. Self-abandonment is the problem. Emotional laziness is the problem. A powerful relationship does not shrink a man. It expands him. The right relationship sharpens discipline instead of replacing it. It creates stability without killing ambition. It offers peace without demanding self-erasure. But very few people are psychologically mature enough for that. Because most relationships are built on unconscious contracts. Make me feel secure. Protect me from loneliness. Validate my identity. Distract me from existential uncertainty. That is not love. That is mutual sedation. And sedation always has a biological cost. The self-aware man approaches relationships differently. He does not enter one to escape life. He enters one after building a life. That changes everything. Because now the relationship becomes addition instead of replacement. He does not abandon his mission. He does not dissolve his standards. He does not negotiate away his future for temporary emotional comfort. He understands a brutal principle: anything that costs you your vitality is too expensive. Even if it feels emotionally familiar. Most people repeat patterns not because the patterns work, but because the patterns feel known. Familiar suffering feels safer than unfamiliar growth. So they remain in dynamics that slowly drain their ambition, health, creativity, and identity while convincing themselves this is simply what adulthood feels like. But adulthood was never supposed to mean psychological surrender. Real maturity is harder. It means learning how to remain fully alive without becoming chaotic. Disciplined without becoming cold. Loving without becoming dependent. Committed without abandoning yourself. Every routine shapes you. Every emotional dynamic shapes you. If your life removes friction completely, your character softens. Nature itself operates through resistance. Muscle grows through resistance. Wisdom grows through resistance. Identity grows through resistance. Why would masculinity be any different? This is why solitude can become sacred for certain men. Not because they hate people. Not because they fear intimacy. But because solitude restores clarity. A man alone can hear himself think again. And most men have not heard their own mind clearly in years. They are drowning in noise. Notifications. Validation. Obligations. Emotional management. Performative lifestyles. But silence reveals hierarchy. It reveals what actually matters. A solitary man who uses his isolation correctly begins organizing his life around fundamentals instead of appearances. Sleep. Training. Reading. Skill acquisition. Financial discipline. Emotional control. Long-term vision. Simple things. But simple things repeated for years create terrifying advantages. Most men underestimate consistency because modern culture worships intensity. But aging well is not intensity. It is alignment. The man who sleeps well, trains consistently, protects his attention, avoids unnecessary emotional chaos, and lives according to principles will almost always outlast the man addicted to stimulation and instability. Even if the second man looks successful socially. Because the body keeps score. The nervous system keeps score. And resentment ages people faster than time. Many men in relationships live under constant low-grade psychological tension they cannot even name. Suppressed frustration. Unspoken obligation. Loss of autonomy. Emotional performance. Financial pressure. Identity compromise. Not dramatic enough to leave. Not healthy enough to thrive. So the soul enters survival mode. And survival mode destroys vitality. Look into the eyes of some men in long-term dysfunctional relationships. Very few men achieve this balance because balance requires consciousness. And consciousness requires brutal honesty. You must be willing to ask yourself questions most people avoid forever. Does your current life sharpen you, or soften you? Does your environment increase your energy, or drain it? Are you becoming more disciplined over time, or more passive? More courageous, or more comfortable? Because comfort has a hidden appetite. Feed it long enough, and eventually it consumes your ambition. This is why certain single men appear younger, sharper, calmer, and more focused as they age. Not because being single is magical. But because they never stopped building. They remained engaged with difficulty, growth, and self-respect. And if you must walk alone for a while to rebuild your mind, body, standards, and direction, then walk alone with pride. Not bitterness. Not arrogance. Clarity. Because the goal was never to remain alone forever. The goal was to become a man who remains whole. Whether alone or loved. Most people will choose comfort. Choose consciousness instead.